What an utter disappointment. One of the shows that I was most excited for the spring 2026 anime season was Agents of the Four Seasons. It just looks like it has an absolutely stacked team behind it, showing that there's a lot of love and passion for this project. And after the first episode, what a snore fest. I was extremely bored watching this show. April Fools, by the way. April Fools, I'm just kidding. I don't normally do April Fools stuff, but I figured, hey, why not? Why not do it this time? April Fools to you all. But anyways, for the 5 people that are still here and haven't shut this video off and are really angry at me, I have watched the first episode of Agents of the Fourth Season, and what a great episode to start, or at least a show to start the spring season off with, because it's literally a show about an agent of spring that brings about spring, while I have a storm outside that's rumbling at the same time. Like, it just kind of fits really perfectly. No, I was really excited for the show overall because, yes, we have Wit Studios working on it. It's running for 14 episodes. It's from the creator of Violet Evergarden. The musician did Danger's My Heart. Like, everything about this show just screams, this is a passion project. Like, there's something good behind this. Now, I will say that so far with the first episode, I'm sort of getting that formula that they did have for Violet Evergarden, which is a good thing, I think, honestly. Violet Evergarden was really great in the idea that it had this overarching story plot, and then at the same time, it's these individual stories. I think that's what they're kind of doing with this based on just a single episode, but this is my thoughts on the show so far, so let's jump into it. Agents of the Four Seasons opens up with the creation of winter, and winter was the only season at the time. Eventually, winter became very lonely, at which point it created spring. And the two of them were happy together, and at some point they decided to create summer and autumn, and they all kind of followed each other, so the seasons were going just perfectly fine. Well, it seemed like some sort of problem was happening between winter and spring, and thus autumn and summer decided to, hey, let's just go ahead and pass on our powers to these humans down here and allow them to kind of decide when the seasons happen. And thus you have the creation of the Agents of the Four Seasons. These are individuals that are bestowed the powers of the gods and allowed to essentially bring about each season. So winter can go to an area, perform a different rite, and it'll be winter. And then later on, spring can come by there, they'll perform their rite, and suddenly spring happens. And this kind of has pretty much been the thing for quite a while. Well, we cut forward and it seems like it's been about 10 years since spring happened. It seems like winter happens and then a long period happens, then summer happens, and then autumn happens. Something's happened with spring. And we zero in on the agent of spring, which is Hinagiku. And Hinagiku is traveling around with Sakura, who is their guard. And it seems like Hinagiku has a bit of a confidence issue. Like, something happened in the past that's really bothering her. It's really upset her. It seems like she feels like she's a failure. She knows Winter, the agent of Winter, which is Rise, and she wants to apologize to him for some reason. Seems like she's not adequate enough, and thus she feels like she needs to apologize to him. Maybe potentially the reason is because of the fact that it hasn't been spring in like 10 years. While they're traveling around, eventually they go to this Mount Ryugu, at which point Hinagiku is going to perform the rite there in order to bring spring. It seems like Sakura is very adamant that they do not notify the locals that, she's there and that she's going to perform this. They have to do it in private. Well, as they're traveling up this little mountainside in order to get to the top of Mount Ryugu, eventually they stumble upon this little kid. And Sakura immediately thinks that this might be somebody who's coming after Hinagiku, and so she gets very defensive. Hinagiku kind of has to calm her down. It's okay. Nobody's after me. I'm going to be perfectly fine. It seems it kind of opened the door right here to the fact that something happened in the past, that somebody came after Hinagiku and potentially could have threatened her life. And Sakura feels a lot of regret for what happened there. Like, she failed to protect Hinagiku from somebody, and she really badly wants to undo whatever happened in the past. Anyways, Sakura tries to get this kid to leave. The kid's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm here to shovel some snow. And eventually, yes, Hinagiku has to convince the kid that they are, in fact, this agent of the Four Seasons by showing her the power that she has. She claims that she's not necessarily a goddess, even though this kid thinks that she's a goddess. But in actuality, she's been bestowed the power from Spring, the goddess of Spring, and she has the power of essentially acceleration. Like, everything that she touches sort of creates this acceleration. So she has a seed in her hand, and she's able to essentially make it, speed up time and thus blossom into something, into a flower. That all said, the group of them decide to travel up to the top of the mountain together because the kid does not plan on leaving. As they're traveling up there, it seems like the kid's a little upset at the idea that spring has never happened their entire life. They're 12 years old at this point, and since it hasn't been spring for 10 years, she's like, why in the world are you playing this game of hide and seek with spring? Why aren't you bringing spring about things? Honestly, getting to a point of frustration. Like, my father literally is having troubles with his business. He's not sure what we're going to do because we haven't had spring in 10 years. We're running out of money. He's not able to buy me the things that I want to buy anymore. Like, people are suffering because you're not bringing about spring. Like, what are you exactly doing? Hinagiku sort of opens up a little bit about what happened, that something happened in the past that has sort of made her have to hide away. and wait for the moment that she can come out again and strike, sort of implying the idea that somebody else got the upper hand on her, that she's lost a lot of her power, and that she's potentially trying to hide away for the time being. Eventually, they get to the top of the hill where we find out that Nazuna, the reason that she's there, and the reason that she's shoveling snow, is that she's trying to shovel the snow off of the grave of her mother. And that for the last 10 years, she's never been able to see her mother's grave during the long winters. And it touches a little bit on the idea that people around her find her doing that to be a little bit troublesome, that she's, there's no point in her even shoveling the snow because her mother's not even there anymore. Sort of implying the idea of individuals being able to sort of accept the loss of this woman, whereas her daughter cannot. At which point, Hinagiku gets the inspiration that she needs. It seems that the powers that are given to the agents is not supposed to be used unless there's some sort of purpose. Somebody needs that power. Now, finally, she has somebody that she's been waiting for that actually wants her power, wants to bring about spring. To which point, she does her right, and she brings about spring. At which point, Nazuna cries, Sakura cries, and we all cry. It also kind of touches a little bit on the fact that Nazuna, this little girl, despite saying that she's never experienced spring before, because again, she would have had been like 2 years old when she's seen spring, it does seem like she does recognize the sakura petals, the sakura trees, and it's something that kind of unlocks a little memory of her and her mother, how her mother purposely brought her out there to show her the sakura trees, even though the father was like, there's no point, she'll ever remember this. She remembered in the end, so it's a little cute little end to everything. With that whole thing happening, suddenly the news starts broadcasting that spring has been brought somewhere. Shocking! Breaking news! Spring has been brought somewhere, which sort of does highlight to literally everybody that Hinagiku is actually doing her work again. And that's pretty much the gist of Agents of the Four Seasons so far. My thoughts on the show. So far, so good. I am actually really liking what I'm seeing so far. Visually, this show looks absolutely beautiful. Wit Studio is doing a really good job of it. They're not getting really crazy on the animation with this show, but for sure, like just the perspective shots, the visual storytelling, the rite itself that she performs looked really, really gorgeous. I think they really nailed that kind of transition from the winter season right into spring season. Music, on point. I've always loved the work of Kensuke Ishio and his work with Danger's My Heart and whatnot, and he's doing a stellar job here as well. Like, the music itself just really does amplify the emotion in each of the scenes. Again, like I said at the very beginning, I'm happy that we have like an absolutely stellar team behind this project, and it looks like that's coming across the actual finished product. Hopefully they stick to that for 14 episodes. It looks like it's been running for 14 episodes, but so far, I'm loving it. Visual design, the character designs, everything is just on point. Now, getting to the show itself. Again, like I said before, my excitement in this is a lot to do with the fact that we have the creator of Violet Evergarden. At the same time, I do acknowledge that what Kyoto Animation does with a lot of their projects is not quite the source material. So I do put a lot of pause whenever I see something that is, oh, that's by this person that was, did this project for Kyoto Animation, because Kyoto Animation will in a lot of cases make it its own thing. But at the same time, we can acknowledge that Violet Evergarden has sort of a formula to it. Is the idea that you have this individual who has this really tragic past, and they're trying to get over that tragic past, while at the same time doing this job where they're going around and telling stories. Of course, with the case of Violet Evergarden, she is, writing up these letters for people, and those letters end up being stories that people tell. I'm sort of getting the same feeling of their formula with Agents of the Fourth Season, the idea that we have, yes, the presence of Hinagiku. It seems like she obviously has a really tragic past, something that's really affected her a lot. This girl seems like she's very afraid of literally everything, like a very scared mouse. So something bad happened in the past, and now she's trying to get over that and fulfill her role. At the same time, I'm assuming she's going to come across different individuals who'll be impacted by what the Agents of the Four Seasons are doing. Potentially the conflict with, the governments, people that are trying to come down on Hinagiku herself or the other agents, and how the changing weathers and seasons are affecting the common people. With this first episode, the fact that she has not been bringing spring for 10 years has impacted this girl, Nazuna. She hasn't experienced spring. Even though she has this one little brief memory back when she was, just very, very young, she's not had this. And because there's a lack of spring, she has to come up there every single day to shovel up all the snow so that she can see her mother's grave. The only time she's able to really kind of just take a break is autumn and summer. During those times, I can see the grave. It's great. But because it's long winter, I have to come up there and I have to keep shoveling the snow. And people keep looking at me like I'm crazy. My father's like, what are you even doing that for? She's not up there. Everybody, all the adults are saying, why do you bother? It's because I don't want mom to be cold. She hasn't accepted the death of her mother, and thus it's impacting her. This is our little inserted story that we'll probably never hear from this girl again, but it's seeing the impact of what's happening with the agents of the Four Seasons. And again, I'm making assumptions here, but I'm going to assume based on what this creator's done before, this is what they'll do, is have a little bit tidbits and just tell those stories. So far with the Inazuna story, it was solid. I think it didn't have enough time to really let it set, but it was enough to kind of get a sense here. This girl is dealing with loss, and she hasn't accepted it yet. Everybody else has. And that is obviously making her feel like she's, not like everybody else. That there's something weird about her. She even says at some point, "You think I'm weird too. Everybody thinks I'm weird." She's kind of coming to accept the fact that she's not like everybody else, that she has not come to grips with this loss. So there's like kind of a beauty to this. And hopefully, based on the fact of her seeing spring finally and seeing that moment with her mother, potentially, hopefully, she can, get some sort of acceptance of loss right there and move on with her life. Hinagiku so far, I'm okay with. She is very timid, and I know that's probably going to be a very annoying thing for a lot of people. I do know that there's a lot of people out there that do not like timid characters, and Hinagiku is very, very timid. It implies something at the very beginning of the episode that something happened in the past. I'm assuming it was the past because it seemed like the Agent of Winter and his guard that they show at the end of the episode, they looked younger. So I'm assuming something happened, Sakura was in danger, and they had to flee. I venture to guess that there is probably an agency or somebody that is trying to stop Hinagiku from performing her role. Now that's going to be the very big question mark there is, what can they do with the story? I'm guessing potentially some governments would want there not to be spring at times. Potentially for, I don't know, some sort of economical reason, potentially for war reasons. There may be a reason why they would want winter to stick around longer. I know that typically in times of war, season changes are very significant when it comes to the movement on the battlefield. I don't know if that might be in play there, or there might be some other reason why they would want this to not happen. I'll be curious as well is if this is something that is global, because it does imply the fact that these individuals have to travel everywhere, perform the rite to bring the seasons there. So they would have to travel to another city, perform the rite. Next city, perform the rite. It's not like this suddenly happens on the entire global scale. So I'm curious if this might be something where there's agents elsewhere as well. Like, this is Japan, so maybe there is one in other continents across the globe, that kind of stuff. But so far, not really getting too much details about the agents themselves besides of how they actually work. And again, implying that Hinagiku has been hiding for a while. It seems like she wants to make some sort of amends with Ryusei, which seems to be the winter one. Ryusei seems to be very shocked by seeing that Spring has performed her rite, and it seems like he wants to go see her. So there could have been, again, a separation there, that he does want to go see her. It seems like Hinagiku really badly wants to see him, so there seems to be a romance going between the two of them, so I'll be curious to see what's going on with that. But yeah, through and through, it has been really interesting so far, and again, very, very beautiful. It's a great start to the series. If they can tell some really impactful stories like they did with Violet Evergarden, I'm sure these little small stories of individuals that, again, may be impacted by the changing seasons might be very interesting. But either way, we'll see as we go along. But that's my thoughts so far on Agents of the Four Seasons. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, my first impressions on the show so far. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and you want to support the channel more, become a member of the channel. Also, if you want to get more first impressions video, I'll be doing first impressions of most of the shows of the season, so definitely stick around, hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate your guys' support. Eventually, I'll also decide what shows I want to cover on a weekly basis, so definitely stick around for that. I might cover Agents of the Four Seasons. It depends on if the stories themselves have enough to really to kind of discuss. If it really does click for me, but we'll see. Or additionally, again, if people support it. But with that all said, hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, I'll take care.